Welcome, everybody. Welcome.
Are we live?
We are live. I think we're live.
Hey, guys.
It's funny because I have something on my side. It says, I don't know. It's like, I think we're live.
I know that one time I had a huge delay, so I don't know if you were live before me or what exactly happened, but I was like, this is weird. So, hey, everybody. Thanks for coming in. We have an awesome guest. I can't wait. So excited.
Yeah, there's a lot to learn on this show, guys, and we're going to show you some things that it's really, really awesome. So, well, who's Everest Holmes? Everest Holmes, he's a business leader, entrepreneur. He has a strong background in experimental education with a passion for sustainable agriculture. His journey started in land management around 2012, and he started developing a 10-acre demonstration forest farmstead. Over the years, he gained extensive experience in building design, plot layout, executing permits, construction, and building. At the family farmstead, he produced a biologically rich compost with cultivating an acre of maso bamboo and a quarter acre of elderberries and edible mushrooms. Oh, so we got some questions about mushrooms. He's a certified soil web certified soil web tech, and he anticipates certification as SFW consultant by August 2025. He operates an eco farming entrepreneur with a unique ability to add value in a rapidly growing market. He also has expertise in soil microbial analysis, which is crucial for understanding plant microbiome health and foundation of all growing systems. Throughout his career, he has demonstrated deep commitments to sustainability, social justice, environmental stewardship, and he sought out ways to counsel youth in need, create U.S. jobs, draw down carbon, conserve resources for the sustainable agricultural practices. So let's welcome in Everest Holmes.
Hey,
welcome.
Thanks.
Well, I forgot the movie, but we'll play that a little later.
Oh, okay.
You know what? Let's play it right now. I think you're going to really enjoy this.
It's just the trailer. It's not very long.
Yeah, it's 2 minutes long. I think you're really going to like it. Common ground. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in the chat.
A new documentary is launching a movement to change our farming practices and restore our soil.
I'm excited to share with you all Common Ground.
This is the single most important story of our lifetime.
Now we have the ability to literally stop climate change in its tracks within less than a generation.
This film actually proposes a solution. They could actually bring the entire planet to carbon neutral.
This is a crazy concept. This is insane.
Common Ground needs to be seen in the White House.
We couldn't not make a second film after Kiss the Ground. I mean, it was a runaway success.
The film is a love letter to our children, all about how we can save their future, but also make sure that the world is thriving for all future generations.
We have to come together and find common ground for common good.
How was the film received? Sold out screening.
It's probably one of the most important films you can see this year.
Go watch Common Ground. Best movie of the year.
It is a movie of our time and the next generations to come.
This movement is catching on like wildfire.
What should I do next?
Go see Common Ground.
Awesome. So it's not out, or it is out. It is out.
I think it's starting to come out like right now in other areas around the world.
Oh, nice.
So
So you guys going to host a watch party?
I was looking to do that actually. There is a place in Princeton, which is about 55 minutes from me, that are hosting one. But I was thinking about doing something like that. Asbury Park around, it's about by the shore where I live. They have some kind of theaters that do those kind of things.
Okay.
So
nice.
Yeah, I think it's
Gabe Brown in there. You guys know Gabe Brown?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Regenerative rancher.
I tell you what, everybody there, it affects everybody what's going on in society, and to them it reaches more. It's a deeper meaning.
Yeah.
And so when it's a deeper meaning, you go further and further into things. Like Matt Powers, when his kids got sick, his wife got sick, and the kids, he just kept on going and going and going, and then he realized that, why aren't you guys going any further? Everybody went to a point and stopped.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, no, I'm going to keep on breaking through barriers. And that's the same thing with the movie. Everybody, we got to break through those barriers. We got to come together. It's just so important to do that.
Yeah, it is. And farmers are an interesting breed. My grandfather was a farmer. I'm sure that generations back, my family lineage was farming, but I know for a fact, my grandfather worked the land during the Dust Bowl, and look at what happened there. He writes about it in his autobiography, and it was devastating. I mean, there were days where, and this is because of tilling. This is because of tillage and the use of synthetic fertilizers. I don't know how much actually back then. Because synthetic fertilizers really only, and petrochemical pesticides and herbicides only really took off after the 60s, right?
After World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's funny. Yeah. I don't believe it was because they didn't do crop rotation either. They just used and abused the land. And that's what happens when you use and abuse the land. You can't just,
Yeah.
You can't just do that.
Yeah.
So, it was, and that time period during the Dust Bowl is when they actually figured out and talked about crop rotation and how you need to let things rest in between.
That's right.
And then I think it just advanced from there to cover crops and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And now some of the experts are, Dr. Christine Jones is a really great one, who's known for research on bacteria and very big proponent of multi-species cover crops. And I've seen that. I've worked with that firsthand and had great success myself, where you have, minimum 5 different cover crop species. And a lot of that is to help increase the biology in the soil, the microbiology in the soil, because plants farm microbes. And that's a crazy fact that I'm still wrapping my head around. And I think we all, are still going to be contending with that for decades to come.
Well, everything always starts with the soil first, though. Healthy, you get healthy microbes, you get the whole soil food web going on. Then you get a healthy plant, and we get a healthier you.
Absolutely.
And without the soil, we have nobody that's healthy.
And I don't think a lot of people get that.
Right.
And the thing is, and not that I'm against hydroponics.
Yeah.
I'm not. But I get the purpose behind it. And if you live in a small area, a small apartment, and you can't grow your own stuff, I totally get hydroponics. However, they use a lot of synthetics, nutritional stuff in the water to make the plants grow. Well, that's the same thing with the soil. But if you don't have that stuff in the soil, you don't get it in your vegetables. So
Right.
you're not eating the minerals, all the good stuff that you need from your vegetable intake. You're just getting blah. There's nothing in it, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's petrochemicals. Come on, we're still going to be pulling up oil in 30 years. No, we can't do that. We don't have 30 years. We really don't. And that's another hard thing, you know. We're in and go back to the discussion of farmers and how, you know what, it's critical that we are careful, we tread lightly with them, because no farmer wants to, no bona fide, genuine, big ag farmer wants to be, you know, nailed down for being the reason why we're all sick and the reason why, you know, the soil is dead. So it's a dance. We have to, I try to be so conscientious of that, because my impulse is to want to just, you know, say, oh my God, the sky's falling and we have to change, and we do really, but these guys,
it all trickles down. Like,
yeah, it does.
You know, we could, I mean, sunflowers have been used in Chernobyl. They can pull up radiation. They can do so much things, right?
Yeah, beautiful.
So
yeah.
I kind of went over this in my head. I don't know if it can be true or not, but why don't we do sunflowers and pull those and then make them into biochar?
Yeah.
And then reuse them again.
And put the biochar into the soil.
Boom.
And every time you're adding the biochar, biochar is incredible. I mean, the way that it can sequester heavy metals and literally lock them up, and microbes
can do so
that
many
too.
cool things. Yeah.
Bacteria can do it too, and fungi, literally locking out those heavy metals so they don't end up in our food, and re-mineralizing the soil so that
it's just getting
properly.
the right people on the right page to do this stuff, and to get the higher ups like Congress and president and, you know,
to be aware
senators and stuff in on this, because especially the senators, because they know their state more than anybody.
Yeah.
You know, and
I really wonder. Oh, go ahead.
It's changing mindsets, you know, and it has to start with the kids too. We got to teach the kids all the way up, just like with compost. All our kids should be composting everything from kindergarten all the way up. You know, our preschool, make that preschool even. You know, it's changing mindsets, changing mindsets about the soil, changing mindsets about the ocean. Here we have nuclear bombs getting tested in the ocean. You know, everything is more acidic there. You know, and like you said, like you were saying before, we're in our last inch of soil. We got 30 years left of soil.
Yeah.
And the United States is the number 1 transporter of soil. You know, it's
somehow it's so expensive here. It's ridiculous.
I know. Yeah, the geopolitics is difficult to wrap my mind around for sure. But it would be certainly nice if farmers could get better incentivized via, you know, obviously their, you know, money. The price of crops in the United States is so low, and the price of, you know, forestry products too.
It's so funny that you say that, because yes, the price of crops are low, but they ship them out and then ship them back in. And the food cost is right now is so ridiculous. And it's so sad, because people are just like literally living to paycheck, you know?
Yeah. And a lot of family farms are going out of business.
Right.
You know,
they can't compete with that 89-cent pepper that's in the grocery store. That's going to kill everybody.
Yeah. Well, I really do have a vision for this future in which we go back to rural settings more. I think technology can help us with that too, you know?
Yeah.
Where we don't have to feel disconnected from the world if we're living in a rural setting, and we can start to have more micro industry and really gather around agriculture again as communities, as small communities, and trade can still happen. And, you know, maybe this community could grow more of X crop, and the community on the other side of the state has Y crop. And so, but micro industries are really key to that. I think the future sustainability of the human race on Earth.
Okay, there's something I'm dying to ask you, because
Yeah.
I know you live in an eco-friendly house. You have to.
Yeah,
I see
I
it
do.
behind you.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you live in an eco-friendly community as well?
I do not. No.
You don't.
No,
Okay.
I don't. So our 10-acre forest farmstead, my folks, I grew up in Columbia, South Carolina, and my folks wanted to retire up here in the mountains near where I went to college. And when I graduated, they were like, "Hey, we're going to buy some land up there." And I said, "Well, that sounds awesome. You know, I'd love to be a part of that if I can."
Can I ask where that is?
It's outside of Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh, okay, okay. That's
Yeah.
near Tennessee, close to Tennessee.
Yeah, we're pretty close
Where
to
the
Tennessee.
Biltmore is.
Yep,
Yeah.
right by the Biltmore.
I love the Biltmore. I love the
Biltmore's
history.
pretty cool.
It's
It
really
is.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Vanderbilt was one of the first sustainable foresters.
Yeah. The property is beautiful.
It's absolutely
yeah.
gorgeous. Yeah. The
That's cool.
greenhouse and the whole.
That's a really beautiful area. That's
Yeah.
right, like the heart of Appalachia.
It is, and that's why I'm still here. That's yeah. I mean, and the cost of living is good. Asheville has blown up though, and that has created a higher cost of living over the decade or more that I've been here. But yeah, but it's absolutely a gorgeous place. Tons of biodiversity. It's really nice to go out and go on hikes and find salamanders, and
it's just really chill there too. It's really
Yeah.
relaxed. Everybody's super friendly and
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, do you see a difference in the microbes in each location from North Carolina and other places?
That's a great question. There is some difference, but it's not. It's more bioregional, and Asheville certainly is this mountain range is very it's full of microclimates. So I mean, the biology can differ depending on what dominant trees and plants are in the forest. Now, I don't do DNA sequencing, so when I look, I see a lot more general morphology or what it the shapes and the colors of fungi, for example.
So your fungi, protozoa, viruses, your bacteria, your archaea.
Yeah. It's hard to tell the differences between the bacteria species. You can't really tell. Bacteria just look like all these little dots under the microscope. At about 400x is what we use to do our soil assessments and compost assessments. And but the fungi, I have seen a good amount of variety since I've been doing this. Yeah, and it's fascinating, truly is. And the nematodes, they're all so different. I mean, yeah, the bacterial feeding nematodes have these intricate lips, like fingers coming off of their mouth, or they'll have these big wide esophagus, or some of them.
I know what my Halloween costume is going to be this year.
Nematode. Yeah, it would make a good one. It's like Dune, that sandworm. That's kind of what they look like.
Yeah.
So just let you guys know, microbes are responsible for your formation of your soil structure.
Absolutely.
And so that's the reason why we're talking about soil. It starts with the structure. It starts with the microbes.
Yeah. Yeah. Microbes are responsible for 80% or more of plant nutrition too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we need them. We have to team with microbes. Jeff Lowenfels.
We're actually hoping to have him on very soon.
Wonderful.
So
great.
That is going to be amazing. Talk about somebody putting everything all together,
Yeah. Great. So I would make a great nematode. Thank you. You might see I'll make a felt costume, and you might see it very soon. I'll just come on Grow Big
Awesome.
TV and dress up like one.
I want to be an amoeba. I love testate amoebas. They're one of the most beautiful organisms to look at. It's crazy. They're like these little blobs, and they create these intricate shells around their body, and you can see the detail sometimes, like little scales almost. It reminds me of how a mud dauber will build a nest. It's incredible the way that they build these.
The most beautiful things under a microscope can be the most deadly.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, that's a good point. We often, we think about
like viruses and stuff are just so weird. But
they're crazy. Yeah, you can't even see a virus under 400x, not even close.
Yeah.
But viruses are wild. I've been reading a lot about viruses lately, and we don't really know even the tip of the iceberg with microbes, let alone viruses. I mean, we can barely tell you if they're alive or not.
Mm-hmm.
They appear to be alive, but they also kind of act really mechanically.
Intelligent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And viruses are, capable of triggering gene expression. And all organisms have a intricate relationship with viruses, whether it's bacteria or us.
Yeah, we can get viruses, but your tomato plants can get viruses.
Yeah.
Your animals.
And the majority of them are not even harmful. The majority of viruses are actually beneficial or benign. We don't even know what they do. And they probably are just like triggering gene codes, epigenetic switches where, all of a sudden this plant is going to have more resistance to a pathogen or something like that.
Then are we slipping more, like if we go that route, are we slipping more into genetically modified stuff? Because we're taking that one plant that is less susceptible to a specific virus, and then we're basically cloning it millions and millions of times to eradicate a specific virus.
Yeah. I think what's really important that the Soil Food Web School does a great job of putting out is the notion that biodiversity is the key to success for a healthy ecosystem. And so, when you speak of like cloning and, like trying to find this perfect genetic, there's often, in that scientific realm, you have a lot of practices of sterilization, sterilizing seeds or clonal sterilization, micro tissue propagation. They sanitize the root, the tissue of the plant that they're cloning, and they're essentially eliminating the microbiome. You can't fully eliminate it, though. That's been a really interesting outcome of this work, this research, and is that, even when you sterilize a plant or sterilize a seed, you don't truly eliminate all of the biology that's in there, the bacteria.
Since you are into science, this is what you do. Are you for or against GMO seeds?
That's a great question. I'm going to say I'm somewhat skeptical, but I also recognize the potential, and there's a sort of I do tend to hold the position that who are we to play God?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think it's risky. I think it's very risky, but I also trust that the people working on this are cognizant and, similar to the folks that work on like nuclear fusion or fission, You know, like they
But
know
they have some
they're
kind of
playing
morals.
fire.
That they have some kind of moral background that they won't go too far. And
Yeah,
hopefully. But
yeah, I think that it's such a rigorous process too.
Yeah.
But I do, you know, I do question things like, was the COVID-19 pandemic a lab leak? I think it very well could be a lab leak. And that would suggest that there were scientists trying to be careful to research this, you know, this virus and how it affect animals, but that a leak doesn't mean that it was like a leak could be that somebody was exposed and then they left the lab and they didn't realize that they had been exposed, you know. So it doesn't mean malintent or malicious acts of terrorism, but yeah. And so with the back to this kind of heavy research that has a lot of implications. Yeah, GMOs, I mean, there's tons of potential. And I think it's really safe to bet on GMOs that are not food. I think that non-food GMOs, like trees that grow faster, for example, or, you know, bamboo that doesn't have a flowering gene.
Well, they just came out with this GMO petunia.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the one that glows in the dark?
Glows in the dark.
Yeah, I think that's cool. That's kind of cool.
It is kind of cool, yeah. But it kind of goes against everything I believe in too at the same time. I'm like, it's super cool, but if I buy that,
right,
I don't know.
I'm definitely, as an individual, I'm going to buy heirloom seeds and grow with organic compost and not some genetically modified bacteria. Like there's this new product out. It's not even related to agriculture, but it's this Z-Biotics, and I keep seeing ads for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this little enzyme that was produced by a genetically modified bacteria, and it can reduce the when you drink alcohol. If you drink a little shot of the Z-Biotic, you can reduce the toxic byproduct of the breakdown of alcohol in your stomach, so you don't have a hangover. And that's pretty cool too. I mean, that's like an interesting. But when it does come to GMOing microbes, it's risky. It's for sure risky. Like there's a story that Dr. Elaine Ingham tells at the Soil Food Web School. I don't know if you guys have heard this, but it's kind of crazy. I mean, when she worked at University of Oregon, she was, you know, professor of microbiology there, and that was over 30 years ago. And she was asked by a colleague working on a GMO bacteria similar to the Z-Biotic thing, where this was going to be for agriculture. And the idea was that this bacteria could help farmers decompose their crop residues and produce an alcohol that they could then use to operate machines. Like they could burn that alcohol as a fuel.
Okay.
Yeah. And so in theory, interesting, you know, pretty practical, maybe even revolutionary. But what happened was, you know, she helped raise the alarm that this bacteria was about to get released. It was scheduled for release into field trials. And right before that happened, you know, she and this colleague of hers who was working on it discovered that when the bacteria was introduced into a living system, that it was it was not decomposing, it was fermenting the roots of the plants. So it wasn't just fermenting dead carbon material, it was fermenting living plant tissue. So that had the potential to, when released into the environment, just completely destroy terrestrial life, because it would kill plants. Alcohol would kill, if it's turning plants into alcohol at the root, it's going to kill everything.
Yeah.
And they stopped it, luckily. But so yeah, it got put off, and the program was shut down. But she ultimately lost her job and was excommunicated by the university.
Wow. I didn't hear that before. That's pretty, that blows me away.
Yeah.
She's the queen of compost to me, too.
Totally.
she's just the queen.
Yeah.
It's weird saying it.
Let's lighten things up a little bit.
Yeah.
So what made you want to do this? Like, what in you, when you had to have had this bug in you when you were a young kid, that you love plants and you love to do this. So what started all this?
Let's see, what started all this for me? Fresh vegetables, fresh snap peas. Man, those are my favorite. I love snap peas. I love picking. I mean, I've just always noticed the difference between fresh produce and produce out of the fridge. Even it's way different. So I love eating fresh fruit, strawberries, and yeah, we always had a garden growing up. Had bright red tomatoes and collard greens, and I loved my mom's collard greens so much. And snap peas, and and then on through the years, well, as a kid, you take things like that for granted.
Yes.
Because it's just what you know. And then when I was in college, working on a garden crew where we were producing the food for the school, it was a small farm college, Warren Wilson. It's my alma mater, and everybody, it's a work college, so everyone is actually employed by the school, and it pays for your room and board.
Oh, nice.
And the college cafeteria was run by Cisco, which is that big food distributor.
Yeah.
And Cisco actually allowed, in this case, for the students' garden produce to be used in the meals, which is not normal. Like they don't normally do that. So it was really special to be able to participate in that.
Wow.
And I learned about biodynamic farming. And that's, one of the oldest, Rudolf Steiner, one of the oldest certification bodies, and methodologies for growing biologically. And so I went to a biodynamic conference at Jeff Poppins' farm in Tennessee in about 2010, I think it was. And that was just such a fun experience. I mean, and his gardens were amazing. Like I was seeing this crazy okra and greens bigger than, everything bigger than I'd ever seen. And I'm like, this is incredible, because you're really showing, like, this proves it. You don't need even fertilizers, because biodynamics, they're like making all these preparations out of fermented plants and stuff, and manure. And that college experience too is what really got me into bamboo. And because there was a bamboo field, a forest, on the river right there by the garden. And then I took it upon myself to learn more about how to utilize it. And we started using it for trellises, and we started to pick the shoots in the spring. And then I started mentoring, or became a student of Keiji, who is a Japanese American down in Hendersonville, North Carolina, and he owns Haiku Bamboo Nursery. Keiji's not doing so well these days. He's old. His health is declining, but an amazing person and craftsman and farmer. And he taught me so much about bamboo in broken English. I could barely understand him. But that's what sparked it for me. And then when we started our homestead here and we had to clear trees and open up the forest a little bit, we decided to replant some bamboo on that degraded land. And it's doing really well. This is actually, I have a shoot right here from our bamboo. So this is a bamboo shoot. This is a Moso bamboo shoot. And this every spring, the Moso will shoot, and it shoots for about a month or two. Yeah, about a month, solid. So starting in March. And in 2018, the USDA declared this a vegetable crop. So the inside of it is the edible part. It's only about 30% of it. You see that section right there?
Mm-hmm.
That's the edible heart. And it's really nice and crunchy, and it takes on the flavors of things you cook it with. And it's actually super high in protein. And the protein is similar to animal, to cow's milk, the protein in cow's milk.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. And it just recently became a declared vegetable crop. So I'm really excited about that, because that's going to really help the case for farming bamboo in the United States, which I think is an imperative. We have to grow bamboo in the United States.
Interesting. Now, where all can this bamboo grow?
All through the Southeast. Oh. Yeah, it can't grow anywhere. It definitely, ideally, you're going to have like 55 inches of rain, annual rainfall. And the climate zone is between zone 6 and ideally it's zone 7. Like I'm in that edge of 6 and 7, and our bamboo struggles in sometimes when we get those cold snaps in the winter. But it's alive and well, and it'll size up larger in zone 7 and 8. And then when you get into zone 9, like into areas of Texas and Florida, Georgia, zone 9 starts to get a little too hot, but it can grow. I was just down in New Iberia, Louisiana, which is zone 9B, I think. And there's a fully mature Moso bamboo grove there. And I've got a piece of wood from that. This is actually from South Carolina.
Holy crap.
This is from South Carolina. And it's about 40 years old.
That really will block my mother.
Yeah. This is the stuff right here. This is what they use in China that has developed the bamboo industry so much in the last 30 years. Prior to that, it was just considered like the poor man's timber.
Yeah.
And, rural folks would tend their bamboo forest and they'd eat the shoots. And did you guys know 1 billion people live in a bamboo house worldwide?
I had no idea.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite the fact.
And these are people.
You said bamboo shoots. That's those little things that you get in your Asian dinner?
Yeah, exactly.
Those are good. Those are like my favorite part.
Yeah. And so that's this part right here.
Really?
And and it gets sliced up really thin.
It's really crunchy.
Yep.
Yeah.
What does it taste like? What kind of flavor? What is it similar to?
You've never had bamboo shoots like on your, like if you get like Chinese takeout or anything? I love when they put them in.
I really do.
White long things, and they, they usually are in with your vegetables. But oh man, they're so good.
They are, I know, right? Yeah. I'm glad you love them so much too.
Yeah, they're one of my favorite
what I'm talking
things.
about. They're delicious. They're like nutty and earthy.
I don't know what to compare them to. Like not water chestnut, but like they're just good. They don't really
Yeah.
they really don't taste like anything, I don't think, but
Yeah, I feel like the
It just-
closest thing is heart of palm, but
yeah.
I mean, even that's a little different. Yeah. It's totally unique. It's crunchy, like you said.
I had no idea that's where it came from.
Yeah.
So, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, they're almost as crunchy. That's right. That's right. Wickshire, almost as crunchy as chestnuts, but not quite. It's like they're soft still and flexible. And yeah, and they just absorb whatever you cook them in. They absorb the flavors and take it on really well. And then to hear that it's a superfood, like superfood, we're all buzzing about superfoods, chia, avocado, whatever. Bamboo, I feel like bamboo is the next big superfood that's going to emerge in the scene. When I was shopping at the grocery store a couple of years ago, I saw these plant-based chicken nuggets and they had bamboo fiber in them. Why don't we grow it here in the United States?
I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know.
It sounds a lot better than lab-grown meat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
that's true. That's true. Actually, the lab grown thing freaks me out. But when I see, I don't know, they have these burgers here. You can get them from in the frozen food section. They're called garden burgers, and they're made out of like mushrooms and stuff.
Yeah.
But they look like a burger, but they don't have any of that fake meat in it. It's all made out of vegetables. Now that's good.
Exactly.
But I don't want a fake burger that looks like it's bleeding. Like I'm good.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, that just freaks me out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So are all bamboos invasive?
That's a great question. So
I was
like,
gonna ask him that next too.
yeah, that's the big, that's the PR problem that bamboo has, right? Like in the United States, we've got this mentality of bamboo. It's like a visceral thing. It's like it triggers people when you say bamboo. They're like, 50% of people are like, I love it, or I don't really know what it is, and then the other 50% are like, I hate that stuff, and my grandpa planted it and it grew into the yard and across the yard and it's up next to my house and I can't ever get rid of it. And part of that is that we just don't do anything with it. We don't know what to do with it. We don't know how to use it. We don't know how to work with it, right? And like, isn't that what plants are all about? Work with them. They're allies. They're allies to us. Our entire natural world is how we relate to life. We use resources from the natural world all the time, and bamboo's just another resource that we can have a relationship with. And it can sustain us, and it can, there's a report out of INBAR, the International Bamboo and Rattan Research Organization, and they said that there's over 10,000 different plastic alternative products that have been developed out of bamboo. And these are mostly being imported imported to the United States from China, right? So in the United States, the market share for bamboo, $20 billion in the US. So it's like a 75, $80 billion industry worldwide. And the US is a $20 billion market share. That's the same size as the entire US cotton industry. So we are exporting that money and importing bamboo products to the tune of 20 billion.
Wow.
Why don't we grow it here? Again.
Exactly. Instead of getting it from them.
Yeah.
And then you don't know what they're putting on it. You don't know where they're growing it.
Exactly.
It could be grown in lead fields.
Absolutely.
With human waste. And then we're over here like brushing our teeth with it or something.
Absolutely. And it's yeah. And you know what? It's Americans at this point too. The consumer perception is that it's sustainable, right? So exactly, you're going to buy that bamboo toothbrush because you think it's sustainable, and it is sustainable until you realize that, oh, that bamboo product was fumigated and it's full of chemicals that are going to increase your chance of getting Alzheimer's or something, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
and it's fumigated because it's coming through international shipping.
It's crazy. It's crazy. You know,
It
we
is.
have life is so much easier than we everything's in extremes around here.
Yeah.
You know, we just
They
met somewhere
complicate
in the middle
everything.
and grow
Right.
from there. Everybody's trying to be that like,
Right.
how lazy can we get?
Yeah.
You know,
Totally.
you know, let's go to Mexico. We'll hire some people over there. Come here because no Americans want to work.
Yeah.
You know, things like that, and it's car. You know, everything's great in moderation. Let's build off of that. It's simple.
Yeah.
Life is simple. It's like the purple tomato.
Yeah.
We really need a purple tomato. There's so many
No,
tomatoes.
there's so many
I know.
tomatoes that are purple too. They're not purple all the way through,
Right.
like that one, but we got purple tomatoes. We
Yeah.
got black tomatoes. We've got them. We don't need that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
so-
still against the GMO with that. I'm against the
Yeah.
it's GMO seed. It kills it kills the bees. No, stop right there. If you want to do it hydroponically and go from there. That's the way.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, it's a strong, solid argument that we don't need them. We don't need the GMOs, and that it's just big money trying to,
So
figure out something they can capitalize on. That's
what are all these uses of bamboo? Like, I
there's
know
a
they
lot.
make fishing poles. They make all different kinds of stuff out of this. Sorry if I'm lagging, but I'm getting a thunderstorm, so my internet's acting weird.
Oh, okay, no problem.
But yeah, so you can make so many things
Yeah,
out of bamboo that could substitute other things.
absolutely. So, so bamboo can make all kinds of composite woods, and we're all familiar with the cutting boards and the handles to cooking utensils, the toothbrush. It's getting really interesting when we talk about different bioplastics. So where they're taking bamboo powder and mixing it with biodegradable resins. And I think some of the latest too is scientists are figuring out how to use lignin to create a bioplastic, like a binder, because that's what lignin does in plant tissue, is binding the fibers.
Yeah.
And
they use that with like chipboard and all that stuff. It's like isn't it like a glue almost?
It is. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these biofabricated materials from bamboo are essential to the replacement of plastic, in my opinion. Obviously, it's not the only thing, right? I mean, I really love some of the work from, let's see, like Ecovative, I think, or let's see. There's companies working on fungal biofabrication to replace styrofoam and leather and so other microbes like fungi and bacteria can be used in these processes of biofabrication. But also, we need bamboo because it is so rapidly renewable. And it's not just about the thousands of products. I mean, almost anything you can think of. It's not just about the products. It's also about what the bamboo's doing to the soil. Speaking of soil remediation and soil health, it's also about what the bamboo does in terms of affecting the weather and the climate, and helping stabilize the watershed and increase soil penetrability so that we can reduce erosion and hold the soil together, create aggregate structure in the soil. Bamboo does all of this very well. And then
someone in side chat said bamboo floors, which I have dogs. So if anybody has bamboo floors, it's probably one of the hardest floors you can get. So if you have dogs, they won't scratch your floor, and and stuff like that. So that's
Yeah.
like really awesome.
Yeah, bamboo flooring is incredibly hard, like you said, and it's legitimately net zero. In fact, it could possibly, some estimates say that it's carbon negative. So it's actually, and what that means is that because bamboo is so rapidly renewable and you never clear cut it, you don't clear cut bamboo, that will kill it. So it's easier to
Hey
destroy than,
guys, you can kill bamboo.
yeah, exactly. It's easier to kill than people think. You know, if you cut it down over and over, if you just continue to cut it down, it'll be dead in 3 years. So when we harvest the bamboo, we're never clear cutting. So that's really important because we are protecting the soil. We're protecting, unlike deforesting a pine plantation where it looks like a bomb went off, you're only harvesting a third of the bamboo every season. And you can do that. You can do that repetitively every year.
Okay.
And that 1/3 of the field per acre, you can yield about 16 tons of usable material.
Okay. So I got a couple questions.
Yeah.
How fast does bamboo grow? And what is its root system like? Is it like a giant taproot or?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's part of, understanding. Whenever we want to change a paradigm, it's always best to understand something better, right?
Yeah.
Because the things that we don't know, we're afraid of. So bamboo root systems, they have these feeder roots that go really deep. Not a taproot though, they're feeder roots.
Okay.
Okay. And the feeder roots are what help with that soil porosity and that creating that sponge effect that is so important for the soil ecosystem and carbon sequestration. And then the way bamboo spreads, so this shoot will come up off of a runner rhizome. And that runner rhizome is maybe as thick as your thumb.
Okay.
And it grows laterally.
Okay.
Now, this is the temperate species of bamboo. There's tropical species that grow a little bit differently, but these are called monopodial, the temperate species that can grow in zone 6, 7, 8, 9. So they're monopoidal, which means that the rhizome grows out laterally, and then the shoots come up from that as individuals, not as a clump, but as individual shoots.
I was going to ask you how many came up out of that. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so off of each individual rhizome, you'll have branching. So yeah, the rhizomes will branch, they will grow out in multiple directions, and at each of the internodes, you can have a bud development. And we don't really understand yet fully how what determines where a shoot is going to come up, but there is a microbial link. There absolutely is. So some of the research out of China is showing that it's different microbial communities that can actually trigger the bamboo to shoot better and be more productive.
Now, there's some areas of China that are cold. Does this grow in those areas?
It does, yeah.
Okay, so it will definitely grow here, and it may not like it very well. I live in Northeast Ohio, so.
Okay, yeah. So if it gets down below -5 degrees, that's where it's then it starts to get damaged and struggles to grow. But
so you could take the rhizomes from this and replant them.
Yeah.
And get bamboos from that. Do you have to have like a 1-year rhizome, 2-year, 3? How many years does it take to develop a big?
Yeah. If you're going to propagate bamboo yourself for, like your garden area or, your land or whatever, you can go in and cut a piece of the rhizome. You would find a young cane, and the way it's young is kind of how it looks. So the funny thing, you asked earlier about how does it grow, right?
Mm-hmm.
and because it's confusing, it's a grass species. It's not a tree. It's a grass species. And Jersey asked,
It's
"Is
so
all
weird
bamboo
that
edible?"
grass
It
has
is.
rhizomes, though. That's so weird, isn't it?
Yeah, grass has rhizomes. Yeah,
That's weird.
it is, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause I immediately think of something else. Like I think of an iris or something,
Uh-huh.
or something that has this big things that come off it, or Jerusalem artichoke or something like that. I
Right.
don't think of
Right.
grass. Like, it's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. So the bamboo rhizome, it will change in diameter. So when the rhizome grows, it just continues to grow, right? And branch. And that tissue will continue to grow in diameter. But the bamboo that comes up out of the ground, the canes, they don't change diameter. Once they come up, so this is why bamboo gets its name for being such a rapidly growing plant.
Okay.
Because when the shoot starts to come up out of the ground, it'll grow a foot a day. So
Wow.
that's why people say it grows so fast.
So don't
It
fertilize
grows
it.
a foot a day when the shoot comes up. Wait, what did you say?
I said, don't fertilize it, for God's sakes.
Yeah, you don't need to. The incredible thing is that you don't need to fertilize bamboo at all. And because it will do all of its own nutrient fixation, from phosphorus to potassium, nitrogen. It teams with microbes that do that work for it. And it does it really well because it's such a primitive plant. So it has these ancient evolutionary relationships with these endophytes, these internally living organisms that live inside of the tissue of the bamboo. And it has incredible ability to harness those microbes. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's very interesting. And yeah, David Gray, you could possibly see it grow. I mean, they say that you can see corn grow. It grows so fast.
Right. Yeah.
So why not bamboo? You can put a camera on it and watch it grow. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So
you could sit there in a rocking chair on your back porch and watch it grow for sure.
How about a periods of drought?
So it's drought tolerant.
Okay, so say for instance, we have areas in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
We could totally redo areas, plant this bamboo. It could fix the soil. It can save more water, and then we could plant things in the desert.
Yes, if you have irrigation. So if bamboo is irrigated, it could be grown in more arid, desertified areas. Absolutely.
Like, or even possibly man-made deserts. I mean, parts of the Sahara are man-made. So like you could totally change things around with this bamboo, maybe.
Yeah, potentially. I think that there is a potential there as long as you were able to control the water, because it does like water. It does need to be irrigated if it doesn't have adequate rainfall. And but it would eventually start to change the climate and the weather in the area that it's growing, because in a microclimate, for example, because it will stabilize the watershed and start to regenerate the land and seed clouds.
That's interesting.
And so what is starting from seed? Like, how does it start?
Yeah.
Where does it generate seeds to go on the ground and create more shoots?
Yeah. So bamboo flowers, and it looks a lot like rice. It produces these little tufts of seed, but the species that we are cultivating that goes back to East Asia, it's Phylostachys hennin, the giant gray timber bamboo. And it's been flowering since about 2018. And when bamboo flowers, it's known as a gregarious flowering event, where all of the clones out there, because people cultivate bamboo via clone, like you said, pulling up the rhizome and replanting it.
Mm-hmm.
And so wherever a clone exists, they'll all flower at the same time. Something in the gene
This
code.
bamboo sounds like it has a brain.
Yeah, it's
It's
crazy.
so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it thinks for itself and like
Yeah.
who really knows?
It
It could
acts
have
it acts a lot like a community.
Yeah, it's strange. Yeah.
Maybe it's like little antennas and they're like going up in the air and sending out signals. I don't know.
I mean, they could. I mean,
Yeah.
there's been studies on that.
Oh,
What
wow,
kind
really?
of what kind of vibes are different plants and stuff.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
that,
mean, it could.
that flowers are like giving off electromagnetic fields that attract insects. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So yeah, you typically don't propagate bamboo by seedlings because it only will flower and produce viable seed maybe once every 100 years.
Okay. So yeah, rhizomes are the way to go.
Rhizomes are the way to go. In fact, tissue culture is the way to go. And that's something that we at National Bamboo are really proud of, that we back in 2012 identified this need, and 2018 marked the initiation of tissue culture propagation. And that's been done for us in Florida by a very well renowned tissue culture lab. They micropropagate over 10,000 species of plants, and they said bamboo is the hardest one because when they in micropropagation is basically where you take a small little piece of tissue and you cut it up, and you put it in agar, and you put it under grow lights. And so you have to start out in that lab environment because it has to be very sterile, and otherwise you get a lot of contamination that will literally decompose the tissue that you've propagated. So micro tissue propagation is difficult, and for bamboo, partially because when you cut the bamboo up, it starts to exude these enzymes that want to break itself down, that want to like literally break itself down.
Okay.
And then it starts getting, bacterial blooms and starting to rot, basically. So, but they were able to figure it out for us, and we are able to take, say, 1,000 plants and ramp up production to 10,000 plants in a very short period of time.
Okay.
Which is not possible by going out into a field and cutting big root balls out of the ground that weigh 25 pounds and shipping, 500 plants that weigh 10,000 pounds over to a farm. And then you're only going to get 2 acres out of that.
So that's the problem
Very
with this
inefficient.
bamboo is that it's not easy to propagate. It's not easy to reproduce.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. And so micro tissue propagation or tissue culture is really the key that enables bamboo agriculture at scale. We're talking, there's a mill in Demopolis, Alabama that we are looking to partner with and essentially supply to replace or at least to subsidize the hardwood fibers. So hardwood trees are not being replanted in the United States because they take 50 years to mature and harvest. So landowners are planting more pine, but we need hardwoods. We need the hardwood fiber for a number of products, and we can't rely on recycled fibers. Yes, we use a lot of recycled fibers, and that's a great thing, but we cannot rely on recycled fibers. We need alternative, sustainable fibers in the United States to keep these mills open. Like in Canton, North Carolina, right down the road from me, there was a mill that was producing, they processed a lot of hardwoods, and they processed a lot of pulp chips, wood chips and everything.
It was a paper mill.
It was a paper mill.
Yeah.
And sadly, and it's controversial, a lot of people it stinks and we don't want a big mill, but you know what? Like that kind of industry is the backbone of this country, right?
Yeah. And it does stink.
and it does stink, right? but thousands of people lost their job.
Yeah,
and I hate to sound pretentious, but bamboo could have saved the mill. Like, it really could have, because we've identified that the bamboo fibers are so similar to hardwood fibers that you can literally replace hardwood with bamboo.
But you would have had to have found somebody that has lots of acreage that would be willing to grow this for that specific reason, right?
Yeah, we missed the boat on that one for real. But there's an opportunity that we've identified now with our work through NC State University. We're members. We've been donors and supporting members of the Sustainable Alternative Fiber Consortium out of NC State University. It's one of the biggest, internationally renowned paper pulp technology research institutes in the world, right here in North Carolina. And we work really closely with them, and they helped us identify this mill. There's one in Alabama. There's mills in Georgia and other places.
The ones in Georgia, yeah.
Yeah, East Texas, and they all use hardwoods, and the cost of hardwoods is going up and up because it's getting further and further.
And that really sucks because hardwoods are like the beauty of everyone's home. If you ever walked into a home that is 50, 60 years old, maybe even 70 years old, they have hardwood accents. It's really the beauty. And I hate to see it go to something like paper because it's really just the beauty of people's homes and doors, and, especially back when,
No, that's a great point. That's a great point. Like we should not be pulping hardwoods.
They're supposed to be specialty woods.
Yeah. In fact, I would rather that we not even deforest those deciduous mixed hardwood forests. Like, let's keep them intact.
Well, yeah, my grandfather always said, like, anytime you ever seen, an oak tree, for example, growing on the property, he'd be like, don't touch that. I'm going to stake that up. And actually, I have a beautiful oak tree in my backyard because of that. My grandfather saved it from when we were kids. He's like, I'm not touching that. That's a beautiful oak tree. It's not going anywhere. Yeah. And that's the same with maples and oaks and all the beautiful hardwoods. They shouldn't, just be going to paper.
No, that's right. Yeah. Or biomass, for God's sakes, where they're cutting down like swamps and then they sell the biomass to, Europe for burning, for pelletizing and burning. Come on.
Yeah.
We have to keep our forests intact.
Well, if anybody out there is a woodworker and you work with wood and you make beautiful pieces out of those hardwood pieces, I mean, anybody would be in tears to see that go to a paper mill.
Yeah, exactly. So for this one paper mill, we need like 40,000 acres of bamboo. And that might sound like a lot. And it is a lot. It is. But it's not. It's kind of peanuts when it compared to the amount of forestry and agricultural land in the United States. There is a lot of land, hundreds of millions of acres. And I believe, and I think it's a solid argument that could be made that by planting bamboo, which is this renewable resource where we can start harvesting it at year 6, and we can harvest at year 6.
That's a lot faster than oak trees.
Totally.
And I know they go to pine because pine does grow super fast.
Yeah.
But 6 years
but
is
you
not.
Can't use pine for like the paper pulp. Well, you can, but you can't make paper pulp out of pine exclusively.
Yeah.
It has to have some of the hardwood fibers in it. Or we call them hardwood fibers, but it's about the length of the fiber. So
okay, so this bamboo could save the industry and save a bunch of trees.
Yes, it can help us stop
bring down
the
cost of hardwoods.
Exactly, because you can harvest every year. You can get a tremendous amount of pulp, and pulp for paper, but also pulp for bioplastics. Another really exciting project we're working on is supplying bamboo to a small up and coming startup. They're bioplastic company, and I can't really say the name right now, but they're working on bioplastic manufacturing, and it's going to be compostable. Well, they're already making them, and they sell out, but these cutlery like forks, spoons, knives that break down into compost and soil when you're done with them. So they're not going to be plastic pollution. And we can make this out of 100% bamboo.
Nice.
Yep.
And I already have like a lot of bamboo items anyway. Like I have spoons and stuff for cooking and cutting boards and
so we're
stuff.
used to it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So the product is out there. It just, there has to be more. There has to be more.
Yeah. And I believe that we need to bring industry back to the United States.
Oh, for sure.
And save, we talk about, a sustainable future for the middle class and our children. And we can't have that as a country if we're just outsourcing everything. It's a real issue that we relied so much on China for manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like there's not a lot of people talking about it because it's scary. It's actually really like, it's been a good thing, but then has it really been a good thing?
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, this could be
consumerism.
Yeah. This potentially could be very good for the younger generation. One, they can have something to look forward to, a retirement. Maybe they start working these factories, they can have a pension, they can, actually look forward to turning 65. A lot of people that are younger than me are like, well, I'm never going to retire because they've gotten rid of pensions and they've gotten rid of retirement plans and all this stuff, and then they rely on the 401k, and we all know that is fickle. And so we could bring back industry, and people can work their 40 hours a week and get a pension when they retire. Exactly. And that's why a lot of people nowadays, they don't even work but a couple years, and they're like, I'm done with this place, they don't offer me anything.
Yep.
You could work at a company for 30 years and feel proud that you worked there. And
proud about it. Yeah. It's a huge part of it too.
Yep.
We got to feel proud about it. We got to know that we're taken care of, and that, what we're doing is not just, for someone else's profit, but it's also going to help the planet. Right. Like, It's all about, like, I really think that, again, in addition to the vision of like micro communities with micro industry, we're not going to completely get rid of big industry. And so I think we need to find a happy balance between them, right? Like the beautiful, thriving small business and communities of where more people are directly engaged with growing their food, and then these larger corporations that can do things like produce paper, because it's only sustainable to produce paper at scale. It's not sustainable in a little cottage paper mill. Those don't.
Well, the way I think about this too, is I don't want it produced in China and then come over.
Exactly. I don't either. Yeah.
They use children for that.
Oh yeah. That's the other
weird thing. I don't want to purchase any. I feel horrible purchasing stuff from there because it's made by some 5-year-old that got a dime a week. I don't want that. I want it to be made here where somebody got a reasonable wage for it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So.
Exactly. Yep. And David asked, after 6 years, you can cut a third of the bamboo. That's correct. So it traditionally has been selectively harvested. And so if you're interested as a grower to have, on your homestead or your farm, to have bamboo, there's a lot of great applications for having it on a small scale. And then there's a lot of great applications for these big plantations that I'm talking about for paper pulp, right? So let's talk about what happened. What does it look like for a farmer that has a patch of bamboo, say, for example, that their grandpa planted. It's 45 years old and it's just sitting there. They don't know what to use it for. They don't know what to do with it. So number one, it is incredibly high in protein. I think the last thing I think is like 19% protein content, like considerably high.
Does it taste different though after, like, if it's been sitting there for 30 years?
So the bamboo leaf, I'm mentioning right now as a protein source. That's the leaf material, and that's specifically as a fodder for animals. So if you have cattle or horses or chickens or whatever, goats, anything like that, you have a really sustainable food source and fodder for your farm animals. That highly abundant, and it's green all year. When your grass, when your fields go brown in the winters, you could be harvesting bamboo leaf and supplementing feed that way, and it's incredibly high in antioxidants. That the purple tomato, there's antioxidants in all kinds of food. So we definitely can get antioxidants from bamboo to a very high degree. There are
you saying it's is it challenging the purple tomato?
I am challenging the purple tomato. You're right. There's no reason why we need a GMO.
We don't need the purple tomato. We got bamboo.
We got bamboo. If you need antioxidants or freaking blueberries, So yeah, antioxidant content of bamboo is one of the reasons why it's considered a superfood. It's incredibly high in antioxidants, and that's for eliminating free radicals in our blood, which can lead to diseases. So there's also a lot of we talked about protein. There's silica. Silica, biosilicic acid. So in biodynamic farming, they use horsetail to prepare. And you guys know what horsetail is? It's like that little grass-like looking plant, and it grows about like 2 feet tall, 3 feet tall.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty, and that's the next in line with the highest silica content. Bamboo, though, is way up here to everything else. Bamboo has such a high amount of silica. And silica is like sand, right? It's like basically silica is what sand is.
I was told it's really good for your garden.
Yes. So silica is really good for the garden. It's really good for our skin, our hair, our nails. So bamboo supplements, silica supplements, that's a product. And there's tons of bamboo silica products showing up on the market now. Like if you go to Whole Foods, especially like, natural stores, there's bamboo. One of the most recent interesting studies is that silicic acid is the form of silica in which it is bioavailable, so that we can actually absorb it into our bodies, or say like a plant could use it. Plants can't use silica in the mineral form that's bound up in crystalline structures of sand. You can't, microbes have to break that down. Bacteria has to break that down before your plants can use that silica. But silica, biosilicic acid, the form that it exists in bamboo, is highly absorbable. And it increases the ability of our immune system to fight off disease. It increases our tolerance to stress, whether you're a plant or an animal.
I can't remember. Does it go directly into the plant? So when you eat it, you actually pick that up as well?
Yeah.
It does. Okay. I couldn't remember if it did or not. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's something you can't get through hydroponics.
Yeah, right. Hydroponics would be so difficult to do right. It's just not worth it. Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's definitely a lot of controversy over that sort of stuff. Like, I mean, there's like a new company coming out that's funded by NASA and Purdue, and they're like doing these they're making these aeroponic systems to grow food in space, basically, or grow food in your kitchen, but it's only going to be accessible to the super wealthy.
I have a aeroponic thing in my kitchen.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Like, I grow some lettuce in it, and it's okay, but
Yeah. And hey, it might be nutrient dense, but it's hard to get that. You have to really dial in your chemistry.
Yeah.
Why
Otherwise, your
rely
lettuce
on these?
tastes like crap.
Yeah. Oh, does it? It doesn't taste good?
If you mess up that chemistry, that stuff that they put, it won't taste very good.
Yeah, yeah, right. And why again, let's team with microbes. We have to team with microbes. We gotta get away from this fear of microbes. So our culture, where it's most evident to me, is mycophobia, the fear of mushrooms. Even though our ancestors all foraged wild mushrooms and ate them as a staple food.
I
And
don't
it
fear
turns
them.
out
I just don't like them.
you don't
I
like them?
couldn't find
Yeah.
one
You know,
that
my
I
wife is the same way. She didn't like mushrooms at all
Yeah.
when we got together. And I've been telling her, you got to try wild mushrooms. They're so much different.
Yeah, like chicken of the woods or something, I'd be willing to try.
Yeah.
If I found it somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm willing to
yeah.
try it, but anytime I get it on a pizza, it's just so rubbery.
Yeah,
It's
the
not.
rubbery. Yeah, the mushrooms have all these different textures. So don't give up on mushrooms, Corky. Don't give up on mushrooms. They're really good for us. Mushrooms have been any type of mushroom, any of them. They're all medicinal. Every single one of them is medicinal.
Yeah, when my dad had cancer, I studied the reishi mushroom like you wouldn't believe. Unfortunately, his doctor told him, don't do it. It'll mess with your blood pressure. And it kind of really hurt me because, I mean, there's studies. I'm not saying it cures anything, but there is studies that shiitake mushrooms can shrink tumors. There's studies about reishi, like shrinking breast cancer. I mean, there's a bunch of studies about this, that kind of stuff. And so I did a ton of research, and he just wouldn't do it because his doctor told him not to. And by the way, I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying, do your own research, people.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Yeah, it's
doctors are wrong sometimes. I mean, they are. Like, I respect them, but also we have to do our own research. That's the beauty of the internet. We can sort through it if we really take the time. If we really care, we can find answers, and it's out there. The information's out there. A lot of it we don't know yet too. And so just by default saying we can't do this because I learned it once, we have to remain open-minded. That's so important. Kathleen asked, where are all the bamboo farms in the US? That's a great question. So a lot of bamboo farms are actually in Florida right now. And they're growing a species called Dendrocalamus asper. So the species national bamboo is focused on is Phylostachys nigra, and it's a monopodial temperate.
Dendro means tree, right? So that's like what, tree something?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it because it grows like a tree?
It does. I mean, it's huge. Asper is even bigger than the one I showed you here, but asper gets big like this. So asper is really much more thick walled. So you can see how thick the walls of the bamboo are. And asper is even thicker walled. It's also edible. Someone asked if all bamboos are edible. Yes, they pretty much are all edible. Sometimes you have to cook them a little more. You have to blanch bamboo shoots like potatoes before you eat them. You cannot eat bamboo shoots raw. It's too many anthocyanins. They're really bitter. So you have to blanch that bitter compound out of them. But anyways, a lot of the bamboo farms are in Florida. There's actually hundreds of citrus growers who are being affected by the greening blight. And so they're bulldozing their trees over. And I could go off on that for hours about how they're causing the greening because of the chemical industry and the chemical ag industry and how they're pumping their trees full of fertilizers and just ruining the microbiome, and tons of fungicides,
Yeah,
tons
they're
of
creating superbugs.
yeah, they are, and they're killing their they're killing their trees' own defense systems. So I do hope that bamboo provides an opportunity to grow more naturally, so then people can actually see the benefits of growing with biology rather than with chemistry. And I do know that the president of the Florida Bamboo Growers Association is more recently very interested in using compost and getting compost out in the field. And so he's been playing his part in that. Kevin Barley, the president of the Bamboo Florida Growers Association, and they manage with Greenfield Bamboo. They manage a lot of fields, probably about 1,000 acres or more. So this is a new industry. Like other than that, you have a lot of patchwork bamboo farms all over. A couple acres here, a couple acres there, a lot of stuff that someone's grandpa planted. And, and it was like one plant that has grown into an acre over 40 years. So
you can't mow your lawn. Don't mow your lawn, guys.
Yeah.
How about disease and insect control with bamboo?
Yeah, so there's actually kind of a myth that bamboo doesn't have any pests or diseases, and that's not true. It does. Just like any living thing, it has pests and diseases. But bamboo is one of those more resilient plants, and maybe that's because of the silica, the high silica content. Maybe that's because of the anthocyanins, the phytotoxic compounds that it can produce to
You're probably really right about that, because if the silica keeps them healthy, then if you have healthy bamboo, the bugs are not going to eat that. They're going to eat the ones that are unhealthy.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And it gives a lot of places for bugs to hide too. I didn't even think about that. Spider mites and
a lot of the problems that I see in the bamboo fields that are being grown in Florida on the old citrus farms, they have mealy bugs. So the shoots just get covered in these like mealy bugs, and it's pretty gross. And that's not ideal. And the mealy bugs are sucking the sap out of the plants, right?
Wow.
But so back to the soil biology too. Why do insects attack plants? Insects are going, like you said, Corky, for sick plants. They don't go after healthy plants. Insects literally hone in on sick plants because the sick plants are giving off frequencies and gases, chemical gases that tell them, that call in the insects like, I'm here, come eat me. Because that's what nature does. Nature's perfect.
And that's exactly what tomatoes do. Yeah. They have that, they produce some kind of hormone, and then bugs attack it.
Yeah.
So you're right. It's crazy.
Yeah. Plants will literally say, I'm dying, come decompose me and recycle me. And that's what insects do. And microarthropods and nematodes, bacteria and fungi, they're all breaking this stuff, the plants down. And so anyways, the mealybugs are attacking the plants because they're sick.
Yeah.
And they're sick because the soil's sick. And the soil's sick because it's been doused in so many fungicides and pesticides.
Yeah, that needs to be cleaned up.
Yeah.
Before the bamboo even gets there. Because they're going to have the bamboo there for years. Right. They need to do something to clean up the soil, then plant your bamboo.
Yeah,
plant fields of sunflowers and
there
put
you go.
in your biochar. And
yes.
And
I totally agree with you. And that's something that I try to instill in anyone that wants to get into bamboo farming. I'm like, okay, so you want to grow bamboo commercially. Well, you need to start by growing cover crops. You need to start by you're already starting right now, right? Like let's focus on managing your pasture before we even talk about planting bamboo. Or in some cases, we're planting in cut over pine, and that'll probably be the majority of the industrial bamboo farms is cut over pine, where we're just going to go in and plant the bamboo. But it's still nice to get a cover crop established before the bamboo.
Yeah,
it's really important. So, and it's funny because any of the this is an interesting part of it too. So all the best cover crops to intercrop with bamboo are forage crops. So things that a hunter would typically plant to attract deer or something like that. So then you could stack your functions there. You could have your rural land, you can make money on a hunting lease, and you can make money on in the short term on the hunting lease, while the long-term goal is to grow a bamboo forest. And your cover crops are your forage that attracts the deer or the turkeys.
Or the wild pigs.
Yeah, the wild pigs. And fortunately, nothing really touches bamboo. Now, I've seen squirrels kind of munch on the shoots or something here and there, but generally, you're not going to have any deer come in or wild boar come in and destroy an entire field of bamboo. And part of the reason is that when you plant it, it's spaced at 16 by 10 feet. So the bamboo are so far apart and so few in between that animals don't really catch on to it until it's too late and it's already growing like crazy.
Yeah.
So there's a question
that by then it's so strong that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see the question in chat? I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, does bamboo work well in a riparian zone? So a riparian buffer zone, that's a great idea. You could use bamboo as a riparian buffer. Now, I would say, though, more likely, it depends on your goals, right? Like if your goal is to have like a cattle pasture and you want to grow bamboo in the riparian buffer zone, that's a great idea. And say your riparian zone is already, you got the big ag ditches and it's already got like invasive species and you can't really mow it, it's hard to mow or something, so you got this like crazy mess. But it's important to have those riparian zones and like tree lines and create windbreaks. So one way you could grow bamboo would be as a long, narrow border to a field or something like that. And then you have your cattle and your livestock in the field. And you could create these zones, these different fields with windbreak using the bamboo. And then the alternative to that is like in a commercial industrial bamboo sense, we would be having the bamboo in the field and then the riparian zones. We're going to try to, maintain 10 to 20% wild native species in those riparian zones so that we can meet some of the standards, forestry standards for sustainable FSC, for example. FSC certifications and stuff like that require that, in a commercial forest that there is a certain amount of land allocated for natural wild natives.
So how long does bamboo last? And does it rot over time outside?
Yeah, this is one of the reasons why bamboo has not been commercialized sooner. Because again, back to the poor man's timber concept, where bamboo is used worldwide as a abundant wild resource for the rural folks out there that maybe don't have those same resources and money that we do in cities and such or developed nations. So bamboo is built, these houses out of bamboo in rural areas around the world, and they never treated it. They never, it's not like pressure treated lumber. And if it's not treated, then the bamboo will disintegrate within like 10 years. It could be as soon as 5 years. Like in ancient Japan, they would do things like smoke the bamboo, and that would help preserve it, or fire cure it. and that can preserve it longer. But yeah, if it comes into contact with the ground or gets rained on, then you definitely get these like rotting. It'll rot much quicker. So now there's been a remarkable revolution in bamboo construction, and a lot of that has been led by companies like Ibuku out of Bali, Indonesia, and they, where this Western capital came in, and they team up with the local artisans, and they use the wild bamboo out there, or now they're growing it, but they build these incredible structures. Like check out the Green School in Bali and the work from Ibuku, and you can see what I'm talking about. And there's a lot of that going on in South America too, with Guadua angustifolia is the species, but Colombia, Guatemala, Venezuela, South American, Central American countries using bamboo to create these beautiful organic structures. And the way that they are able to do this is by treating it with borax.
Okay, I wondered. I'm like, they're building all these houses, but how long will they last?
Right. So yeah, the new technology, it's still really rough. Even it's not like super industrialized yet, but it's they'll soak the bamboo in borax salts, which is pretty non-toxic, for a treatment chemical.
Preserving, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you dilute that out, you can actually, borax is so environmentally friendly that you can, if you dilute it enough, you can pour it back into the ground. So it's not like this hazardous waste.
Yeah.
But it does a really good job, and these buildings will last for 40 years or 50 years.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
Yeah. That is awesome.
Yeah.
I still can't get over one of the facts you said at the beginning of the show, 1 million homes.
Isn't that wild?
Bamboo.
Yeah. 1 billion people worldwide live in a bamboo house.
1 billion.
Yeah. And what they'll do, it's the frame of the house, but it's also the wall panels, and they'll split because the bamboo splits really easily. And then you can weave these walls together, and then you coat that with mud. Okay. And it's free. I mean, for these people, it's free,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So I want to show your LinkedIn page. We're already an hour and a half into this, which is awesome. And thank you for everybody for commenting, everybody in the chat, and everybody in LinkedIn watching. We appreciate you. We go live every Tuesday and Thursday, starting at 8 o'clock, and we end at 10. And every time we have a guest, we say, what is the time? We go, well, an hour and a half, somewhere's around there. And they all go to 2 hours. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So I want to show your LinkedIn page.
Go ahead.
And I want to show some videos on here. So let me go to videos. Could you guys see where I'm at on your side, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is interesting because I have a bag right here of earthworm castings.
Woohoo.
Right? Now, check out this video. I hope you guys like it. Got to rewind. Hold on.
Out there getting ready for spring. You might be tempted to pick up a bag of worm castings like this from Costco. At first glance, it has nice branding with wording such as honest worm castings, no peat fillers, feed and grow plants naturally. We balance technology with biology. Let's look at what's really going on in here. Yes, it's true. The organic matter, the humics and fulvics, is there. The beneficial bacteria are plentiful. But unlike biologically complete compost amendments like this, it was missing 3 of the major soil food web microorganisms. There are no fungi, there are no protozoa, there are no nematodes to speak of. Follow along with product reviews like this.
Anyway, That was pretty amazing. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So, yeah, you saw there the Costco brand worm castings, and I'm honestly, I'm happy they're doing that. I'm happy that Costco is selling worm castings. And that company, though, it has a lot of greenwashing on the bag, unfortunately. You know, it's not necessarily the best product, but I hate to trash it. It's better than nothing. It's better than chemical ag and pesticides and herbicides. And it certainly has a lot of beneficial bacteria. That bag of worm castings has a lot of really beneficial bacteria. I didn't see pathogens. I only saw aerobic bacteria. And I don't know what species, because there's thousands of species, you know, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of species of bacteria. And we still don't even really know what they all do. But what we do know is that aerobic bacteria, the ones that are oxygen loving, just like us, plant roots need oxygen. So the biology, the microbes that partner with plant roots are the ones that like the plant roots, they need oxygen to breathe. And so that product, it's a good step in the right direction. Okay. But what I'm calling out in that video is that it doesn't have all of the soil food web organisms present. And the Soil Food Web School, Dr. Elaine Ingham's Soil Food Web School, that's pioneered a lot of the research on how plants grow naturally without chemical fertilizers. They have identified that there is a minimum population level for each of these 4 general categories: bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and nematodes. Mm-hmm. You need at least 135 micrograms of bacteria and 135 micrograms of fungal biomass in a product like that to even begin to measure, to have a measurable effect on plant growth. And, you know, not just plant growth, because we're talking about biology like that. It increases plants' stress response, so their ability to tolerate stress, like sun beating down hard on them, drought, things like that. And if you don't have the fungi, you're missing one of the critical elements. And that's why weeds grow. Weeds grow, what we consider weeds, grow in bacterially dominant soil, and even low bacterial dominant soil, to that matter. So as plants move through succession, so if you want to grow vegetables, you need in your soil to have a more balanced fungal to bacterial ratio. So if you're adding a worm casting that doesn't have the fungi, then you're still not getting the fungi out there. So where do you get the fungi from? Fungi eat wood. They eat carbon material, carbon-rich material. So, the good fungi that we want in our soil systems for our gardens, we're going to get that from like decomposed leaf litters and decomposed wood chips and stuff like that, right? Crop residues, decomposed crop residues. And we also need the protozoa and the nematodes. They're really important too. We cannot forget them, because the nematodes are like earthworms. And a lot of people don't realize this, but earthworms don't actually eat dead plant material and stuff. They're not eating the soil. They're eating bacteria. When the earthworm is munching away on soil, they're actually digesting bacteria. And so the bacteria are at the bottom of the food chain there, where the bacteria are what is breaking down sand, silt, and clay, and unlocking the minerals out of that crystalline structure.
Now,
and those,
like Nature's Good Guys, they sell nematodes.
Yep.
They're, other good guys.
Yeah.
Do you think adding that to the soil would be beneficial, or is that a waste of money?
So that's a great question. So I truly think that it's not a bad thing. Okay. Again, it's kind of like the worm castings. It's not a bad thing, but I've talked with nematodologists who breed, and they're like, the nematodes that we breed in a laboratory are not nearly as vigorous as the wild ones that you find in
the ones you create yourself with doing the stuff to the soil.
Right, exactly. And so when we make compost in the Soil Food Web School, we're making biologically rich, biologically diverse compost from a multitude of sources of source material, plant material, manures. So basically, the more inputs you have, the biology comes from the tissue of the material you're using. So because a lot of people don't know this, and it's wild, but it's wild to think, but there's microbes in living organisms. So we are, think about this way, and it's kind of weird, but humans are only 10% human. And it's the same with plants.
I always thought I was alien, so we're good.
Yeah. We're like,
I thought I was a pig. Never mind.
We're like these mechanical flesh suits that our guts are controlling. Like, excuse me. The biology is in the material that we make the compost with, and it's also in the soil already, dormant. But in a lot of cases, it's coming from like a forest in the wind, or it comes from the material inputs that we're putting in. And when we use chemicals, they're pretty much all toxic, right? Like you can't say that these pesticides are harmless to the, like there's so many pesticides and herbicides that the ag industry claims are not damaging, but they are. They all are. It's just a lie. And we see that as evidence when we look under the microscope at the damage. But it's not just the chemicals, it's the tilling. It's the tilling too. So regenerative ag is doing a great job of finding solutions to no-till and growing crops in a no-till system, because it's not easy. Like organic agriculture actually tills more than conventional agriculture. Organic agriculture is more damaging to the soil in some cases.
David Gray says we have microbes all over us. I'm like, we also have good bacteria all over us. That's why I hate using hand sanitizer.
Yes.
Because it strips all the good bacteria off your hands.
Yeah.
And then not only that, like, I think that also creates a whole epidemic in itself of people just getting sicker, because instead of washing their hands, they just slap some hand sanitizer on their hands and call it a day.
Yeah.
I'd rather just wash my hands.
Yeah. You know what's happening there? And it's crazy. And it's happening in hospitals. Like, you hear all the time about people go to hospital and they come out with sepsis.
Yeah.
So even though the hospitals are so sanitized, what's going on there is that when you sanitize a surface, you're killing off that good stuff, like you said. And when you kill off the good stuff, the most opportunistic species are bad guys. Like but when you have that biodiversity, the bad guys they're rendered neutral. In some cases, they change and become beneficial. But what happens is you get these biofilms where all of this bad, toxic, antibiotic or chemical resistant strains of bacteria that are causing strep or staph infections. They create these biofilms, and they're communicating with each other, and they're keeping each other alive. And an anaerobic staph biofilm is one of the hardest things to remove. You can't get rid of it, even with the hardest.
There's been lots of people in hospital with flesh-eating bacteria and MRSA and all that stuff. And yeah, it's really kind of scary.
Yeah, so we don't want to do that to our soil, and we are
No.
doing it to our soil, but we've got to
Right.
change things. So everyone in their own lives should work on that, and then we want to also vote with our dollar and try to buy from farmers that we know, and we know those farmers are using good practices. But you know what's really cool? I don't know, have you guys heard of I'm sure you've heard of John Kempf and
Oh, yes.
yeah. So did you hear about how he came out with a new integrity grown certification system?
No, I missed that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so they just announced it, and it's called Integrity Grown, and they're starting for cotton. And what I really love about this is that, you know what, like, let's be honest, when we're talking about the food production and the fiber and all this agriculture and forestry, it does come down to money at the end of the day a lot of times. So that's why it's so hard to eliminate, for these big producers to eliminate chemicals like Roundup. So what AEA is doing, they're not saying don't use any of this bad stuff. What they're saying is we're going to test the outcome. We're going to test the product. And if you have pesticide levels, then it fails. It doesn't certify. So that's the opposite of what all these other certification bodies like organic do. They're putting all the impetus on the farming practice and what farming practices, and that's pigeonholing farmers. And that's not even necessarily producing nutrient dense foods. Like organic ag is not producing the most nutrient dense food. It's when you get into the regenerative ag space that you see the high nutrient levels and the high sugar content of fruits and vegetables. And so it's really important. What I love about this integrity grown thing, that they're gonna expand beyond cotton. They're gonna start certifying other crops, but it's the end product when it's in the hands of the distributors and it gets to the grocery store. At that point, they're testing the produce, not the method that the farmer was using, but they're testing the end product. And if it's grown with integrity, it passes. So maybe if the farmer had to use a little bit of Roundup on his weeds, on the, or on some area of the farm, and I'm not pro Roundup, I'm not. But in some cases, I've talked with so many farmers, I've worked with them in real, field grown situations. And in some of these cases, it's so economically devastating to not be able to spray Roundup or to not be able to till or something like that. So, but, and that doesn't, just because they sprayed it over there doesn't mean they sprayed it on their crop, but all of a sudden they're not organic certified and they can't get that high dollar. So it's, so if we can have a way that we really prove that the end product is good and it's not contaminated and it doesn't have chemical residues and it doesn't, then do the ends justify the means?
Yeah. This is where I don't really trust organic anymore. I was always told that organic, they don't spray, they don't do this, they do the best they can to be chemical free, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what they're doing is they take a farm that has been spraying glyphosate all over the place. They're like, okay, well, this farmer's not spraying glyphosate anymore. And then we're going to put, I don't know, a field of peppers in there.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not spraying our peppers.
Mm-hmm.
But glyphosate never goes away. So those peppers are growing in glyphosate. And then they're marked organic because they didn't spray.
Yeah.
How is that fair? And it makes me think that the entire organic policies need to be rearranged a little bit.
They do. They really do.
Yeah, because that's not right. Because we are purposely buying organic to get away from that, to get away from the sprays.
Exactly.
But, they're growing in the fields that we are trying to get away from. Like the pesticides.
Yeah.
It makes us not trust it.
That's right.
So I want to show another video from LinkedIn.
Sure.
I love it. I
Thank
love
you.
these little videos.
Yeah, I just started doing this more recently with the Compost Content Challenge, the compost marketing agency, Tim Steckel, who I think he's been on here. He said,
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, put on, and there's a number of us producing compost content. So I've really I've leaned into it, the content creation, and I'm going to continue to spread the word.
So
sure.
This is on another worm casting extract. So let's click on this one.
Today I'm evaluating the Worm Power brand of worm casting extract. Upon examination at 400x magnification, the biology appears sparse but present. I can discern thin and clear living fungal hypha, indicative of beneficial fungi. To delve deeper, I'll utilize the microbiometer for further analysis. The microbiometer's design and functionality are quite impressive. It's a quick test with results accessible via the phone app, thanks to this company's robust database. However, the results of the worm extract reveal microbial biomass level too low to register the fungal bacterial ratio, far below what's considered beneficial for plant application. Considering the instructions call for further dilution before spraying, I question the efficacy of this product in promoting plant growth. I'll conduct my own side-by-side test on my peas to ascertain its impact. Stay tuned for updates. Yeah, I threw a little tomato in the ground while I was at it. Yeah. So that worm casting brand is like, they're really big. They're Worm Power. I mean, on paper, just like the other one, it looks great on paper, and they have all this research on their website. If you go to the Worm Power website, so I don't know if it's a really great product or not. If their research papers are actually true, then they have a really good product there. But when I looked at it under the microscope, and you saw, if you compare that to BioComplete liquid amendments in the soil food web school methodology, it's night and day. Like, that was so diluted that I cannot say with certainty, with confidence, that product is going to have a measurable effect on the soil. Mm-hmm. Like, it's so diluted that it's just going to get diluted out into nothing. And but when we use BioComplete or biologically rich, microbially diverse amendments, as we are taught in the soil food web system methodology, we have a much higher, much denser. There's more aggregate. There's more fulvic and humic acids. There's more fungi. There's more diverse fungi. So typically, when I'm looking at a sample under a microscope, I don't want to see a fungal hyphae every, I don't want to have to look for it. I want to be able to see it in almost every field of view. So every time I move my microscope stage and I look at a new field of view, I want to be able to see fungi. And
it's irritating for the average person that buys that and thinks it's going to help when really it doesn't have crap in it.
Yeah.
Like his worm castings.
Yeah. Right.
It doesn't have crap in it.
Doesn't have crap in it.
People out here depend on that kind of stuff. So you really have to do your research.
Exactly.
And you really have to look at your ratings. So if you're buying off of Amazon, I want to see people that have pictures of their plants growing in that soil after they used it.
Yeah.
Because that is really, half these people out here don't have a microscope.
Yeah,
they're not going to be able to look into that.
Yep.
Actual evidence.
Right.
Everything's still diluted. That's what everything is. It's a lot diluted. Here's my facts, and
that's one of the things on the bag of worm castings that they're using as marketing branding. It says I forget the exact wording, but it says it's not. It doesn't have any fillers with peat, and it's true that worm casting companies will mix the worm castings in with peat moss. to stretch it, to dilute it. And so you can sell a more bulk. It feels like you're buying more, but you're actually buying a lot of nothing. Peat moss.
Matt and Grandma, the best thing you can do is look online and do your research. And that is basically with everything. They make everything such a pain in the butt. You have to go to Amazon. You have to check the ratings. You have to go online. Maybe check out people's YouTube videos to see if they use that particular worm castings. And you got to see how they grew it. It's such a pain because you can't trust the company to put the stuff in there that you need.
Now, I'm gonna say one thing though on with the worm with that worm power extract. I'm gonna give them this. I'm gonna say, okay, I was actually surprised that I even saw anything living in there, because when you bottle a liquid with biology in it, it's gonna go anaerobic. It's not going to stay aerobic, because that's one of the reasons why soil goes anaerobic.
Well, don't microbes after a certain temperature die? So if it was on a pallet somewhere, or if it was in a warehouse somewhere and it got hot, I mean, you never know. It could have had all that stuff in there, but then they died off.
Yeah. Well, the beneficial biology actually are thermophilic. They love hot. I mean, they can survive and withstand hot temperatures. So beneficial biology can withstand between the temperatures of 131 Fahrenheit and 170 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's actually really hot. That's like hot enough to almost burn you. Yeah, it would burn you. So that's one thing. That's one good thing. And that's how hot compost is, that's how they make compost that's thermophilic, hot compost, to eliminate pathogens, because disease causing biology does not like those hot temperatures in general. And the beneficial organisms, they can tolerate it. So that's how we can make compost that does not kill off all of the good stuff. But the worm castings, okay, so for example, if you are growing a garden and you overwater it, what happens? Your plants die, because too much water in the soil cuts off the oxygen. So that's why I was really impressed to actually see living things inside of a bottle of liquid, because it's liquid. It doesn't have much oxygen. It doesn't have a long shelf life at all. It shouldn't. And maybe that's why it's so diluted. Maybe that's kind of one of the secrets to having a liquid product that has a shelf life. But that company, they have, like I said, they have these like studies on their website, and the studies look really good and solid and legitimate. And so you would think that this product is working and will work really well, but I don't think that it's going to work that well for my peas.
Yeah.
I think it's again another situation where they're trying to capitalize on something that it's going to be better fresh. Worm casting extract is best fresh when you make it, and so then you need a source of really high quality compost or worm castings. So where do we get that? In my research, my market research, I haven't found a lot of good sources. There certainly are not good commercial sources for biologically rich, microbially diverse compost. And there are in the West Coast, like there's companies like Catalyst Bioamendments. Those guys are awesome. They've been working with Dr. Lane Ingham and the soil food web methodology for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And they are making beautiful hot compost that is full of fungal diversity and protozoa and nematodes and bacteria. And their compost, I would put my name on. I would rep that,
Yeah.
But I can't put my name on the Costco worm castings or the worm power extract.
I just bought a huge bag. It looks like a bag that I would have bought soil in. I mean, it's freaking huge.
Oh, you did?
Worm castings. Now I'm curious. I wonder what's in there, really.
Is it the same brand or it's a different one?
No, it's a different one. I bought it from a local supply place, but
cool. Yeah, and you never know sometimes, because like I found there's at Ace Hardware there's like a mushroom compost that's really good. It's really good. And then there's other stuff that's not. A lot of potting mixes are totally devoid of biology. All they have is bacteria. So what you're doing with a potting mix is you're just growing synthetically.
The compost manure bags, say at like Lowe's or Home Depot.
Yeah. There's like the Black Cow. So I've looked at some of that, and a lot of them they're kind of like they're bacterially rich, and then they maybe have some molds in them, which are not really beneficial fungi. We are looking for thick walled, like in that first video you showed. There's a clip of a fungal hypha and a strand of fungi, and it's very, very thick, and it's kind of got this reddish color to it, pinkish reddish color, and then it's there's certain signs that these fungi are beneficial, and that's what we go by. We look at morphology, so how they appear, the shapes, the size, the diameter, the color, and all of that. That's how we're determining if they're beneficial or not. And
I was trying to see if I could find out what the name of that was so I could tell you about it, but I can't remember, and it's in my greenhouse and it's storming, so I'm definitely not going out there to look.
So Mountain Grandma just said she bought Black Cow, and like that's, so I don't want to, I'm hesitant to just say that, it's bad, because it's certainly, again, it's better than the alternative. Like if you're adding organic matter to your soil in the form of Black Cow compost from Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever it is, that's great. That's a great thing. But what we need to know is that it's really the biology that's doing the work. And it's not just bacteria, it's fungi, protozoa, and nematodes as well. And if we are not adding those protozoa and nematodes and fungi back in the soil, then they don't come out of nowhere. So sometimes they can come from, like I said earlier, they can blow in, like fungal spores will blow in from the air. And as long as we're not disturbing our soil too much, as long as we're keeping plants growing, that's really important. So if you're done growing your crop, plant a winter cover crop. And plants will keep those microbes in the soil fed and well, fat and happy. They're down in there and they're alive, and the plants are feeding them sugars, cookies and cakes. And that's what Dr. Elaine says, cookies and cakes. The plants are literally, if you have a winter cover crop like rye, the solar energy is turning into sugars that are being excreted through the roots and are feeding the biology and keeping it alive.
And with the use of biochar too, and store it there, everything and not going anywhere. So that's pretty amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Biochar is incredible stuff. And it's based on that idea of terra preta, right? Like the Amazonian soil that was black gold. When the Spanish conquistadors came through South America, they encountered civilizations, advanced civilizations, and they were amazed. These people didn't have gardens, or they didn't have farms and monocrops. They had food forests, and the soil was rich and black, and turns out that it was because they were slash and burn. The charcoal was being put into the soil, and it kind of acts like a coral reef. Coral is like a living organism. It's a microorganism, and it builds these structures, like that complex housing structures. And that's what biochar is in the soil for protozoa, nematodes, and fungi and bacteria. It's like a high-rise apartment. You can fit a bunch of them in there. And yeah.
Love that. I love how you said that.
Yeah.
But we got one more. We have one question. We're already over 2 hours. So
okay.
Then it's the last question.
I literally could talk about this all night.
I know. I feel like I got at least another hour. We barely touched it.
Yeah. No, but you're right. We should cut it off. Okay, so do I have a general time frame to pull mycelia from a forest like leaf mold? Right. Okay. That's a very nuanced question. So so fungi, let me think here. So when you harvest leaf mold from the forest, so fungi can actually, it's pretty good at drying out and still coming back to life. You can literally dry fungi out and add water and it will come back to life. Yeah, so unless you kill it with, it would have to stay dry for a long period of time. So I don't know what the life expectancy or the shelf life would be on that, but it could be a long time. It could be over a year. And so yeah, if you have fungal material like leaf mold from the forest and aged wood chips, and you bring it out into the sun and the sun's hitting it, it's not necessarily going to kill it off. It will still have living tissue. And but it isn't, but you're right, though, UV light does degrade microbes. So when we make compost, we want to keep it under the shade. So if it's composting in full sun, then we wrap the you cover it with a tarp. Like long windrows will get covered with a tarp. Or if you're doing it more on a smaller scale with bioreactors, then you'll wrap landscaping fabric around it and throw a tarp over the top and bungee it down. And that keeps, yes, it keeps the moisture up. It's so important to keep the moisture at about 50%. And with worm castings, they like more like 85% moisture. But yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, you can harvest materials and that are fungally rich from the forest, because that's where there's a lot of fungi. The forest soil in the forest floor can have as much as 100 or more thousand, 1,000 micrograms. Like for every one bacteria, there's going to be 1,000 micrograms of fungi in a forest floor. Forests need fungi, and that's why so many forests are dying, because fungi is after deforestation, land is degraded for years and years, hundreds of years. So even though a forest will grow back in 50 years, the land is still degraded, and it doesn't have that biodiversity that it once had.
And that's where you plant the bamboo.
Yeah, bamboo does an incredible job at, I've actually personally studied the soil differences and the biology, and bamboo has in this one study, bamboo had 6 times the amount of fungi as a forest right next to it.
Wow.
Yeah, bamboo it's an incredible. I love bamboo, but it's not just because I love it, it's because we need it. And that's why I love it, maybe because I've been on the search since 2010 for a new cash crop for American landowners that could build generational wealth, like ginseng or something. And yeah, I love ginseng too.
I grew some in my forest just like 3 years ago. I'm waiting. It's just, I think my chickens ate it.
Oh no!
Because I've been in my food forest, and I planted golden seal and I planted ginseng.
Awesome.
And I'm like, I'm looking for my ginseng, and I'm like, I don't see it. And I think it's that time of year, but it will pop up.
Yeah, it's popping up now. Yep.
So
yep.
I think they ate it. I gotta control my chickens. I gotta control them.
Chickens are hard to. Yeah, chickens. They're a lot of work, but it's fun to have chickens, isn't it?
Yeah, they're so goofy. And I got three turkeys that come to my back porch every time I open the door. Yeah. And it's getting a little obnoxious. And they went in my mom's garage the other day. So they're just like hanging. There are cut turkeys, I guess. But
that's awesome.
They're constantly eating things out of my food forest, and I am a little scared that they have eaten some of the stuff, because those rhizomes were 3-year rhizomes. I mean, they were really hard to get. Yeah. And so I'm just kind of like, I'm hoping that I can see a lot more of them if they have developed here in the next month or so, because
Awesome.
if not, I'm going to have to get more.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah.
Well, Everest, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely, Joe.
we could go on for a while, and
we could
hopefully come on again. I mean, this is a
Yeah.
great live. I love this.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. Thanks so much, Corky. Really nice to meet you guys and to connect and explore our minds about how this world is so interconnected and how we need to re-establish a relationship with nature and with the microscopic world. And we're so obsessed with the outer space as a society. We need to focus back on the ground beneath our feet. Yeah. So thanks for letting me and holding this space and letting me on here to share my knowledge.
Well, thank you for coming on. And I know you're really into science. That's what you do, but you explain it in a way that everybody can understand it. And I love that, because if people don't understand it, then they're not going to be into it. So they have to understand it. And I love the way you explain it. So it's great.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys and the work you're doing. So keep it up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Have a great night.
Have a great one. Good night, guys.
Wow, that was awesome.
It was awesome.
That was so awesome. I hope we always talked about putting stuff in your pocket. Well, this is one of the lives you gotta hopefully you put stuff in your pocket.
There was a lot of stuff though, you guys, because once I get intrigued, then all these questions pop in my brain too. I mean, this guy really intrigued me a lot, like as far as what he knew. And I don't know if you guys were vibing, but I was really into it. So thank you guys for being here tonight and chilling with us. And it was just it was a good experience. And I hope you guys felt that too.
And here's the Serena joke of the day. Let me see. If spring rains bring April showers, and April showers bring May flowers, what do May flowers bring? Pilgrims and hay fever. So that's a Serena joke of the day.
Thank you, Serena.
Yeah, I knew Corky was glued in when I didn't say a word for about 30 minutes.
Sorry.
And I'm like, she's glued. It's all good.
I hope I asked enough interesting questions for you guys, because that's the one thing I also worry about, is if I am asking the right questions for you guys out there too, because that's the whole point of an interview, And so I hope I asked the good questions for y'all.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people were thinking, Bamboo, this is going to be boring.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys that was the most questions I think we ever had in the chat from the comment section. So hopefully we answered most of them. And that was really awesome. Now Thursday, we're probably going to have we're just going to chat, because we want to get you guys back in a fold a little bit. We want you
guys. We don't want to ignore you. We love you.
So it's going to be an interactive live, and I think we need that. We're going weeks and weeks.
We've been going pretty hard with the interviews, but it's because we want to entertain you as well. It's not just because we love to just chat it up with our guests. You guys are number one. And so, so we hope that you are enjoying these people that we're bringing on. By the way, these people are like the top in their fields. So when we bring them on, it's just like, it kind of shocks Joe and I. We're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this person's coming on. We get so excited. And so I hope you guys enjoy that as well.
Yeah, this is people that are just not on YouTube making a video and researching a little bit. A lot of people on YouTube are just researching the people we're interviewing. So we're trying to get that top of the line. And just let you guys know, we're working on a date for John Kohler, Growing Your Greens, on a date.
Yeah, he mentioned John Kohler, but I was like, I didn't want to say anything.
So we're working on a date with him, hopefully in the near future. Oh, man. I'm trying to think of some people we got. Everest mentioned one, Jeff Lowenthal the house. That's going to be it. I mean, wow. When I've been talking about putting stuff together, this is the man that's going to put, he's one of the top in the world, and he'll be on our channel too. And he's going to put the reasons why you shouldn't be using fertilizer anymore, especially when he lived next to microgrow and he was a pro advocate of microgrow. Not anymore. So, just putting little things together that are really, really cool, and it's coming your way. And please like and share it out. And if you guys become a member, we appreciate that. Right now, I believe we have 8 members. It's Tony at Simplified Gardening. He donated 5 memberships. So if you ever see those people who got those memberships, make sure you go back and say thanks, Tony, in one of his videos or something. That was pretty awesome. We also have, I'm trying to remember his name, but he's going to be with a little prairie. It's going to be doing well with I'm not even going to say it. It's a really big lot. Bev Cohen. Cohen. He's a big name out there. So
hey, Frugal Mama, thank you for coming in.
Yeah. So we're trying to get top of the line people for you guys, and
well, it's because of when we do this, they educate you. I mean, I just have learned. You guys have no idea how much I've learned, and I thought I had this gardening stuff down. I really did. There were certain things I really suck at growing, but like I was like, yeah, I really got this. And then I'm like, we get these people on, and I'm like, oh my god, this makes me this big in the garden world. So
I mean, well, look at all the people that are buying this stuff like me.
And that I didn't mean to sound aggressive, but it kind of pisses me off. And I'll tell you why. Because you know how many people buy that are like, oh, worm castings. I'm going to buy that because it's really good. And here it doesn't have any life in it whatsoever. There's nothing in it. And that's just like, it makes you mad. You waste your money. And so, yeah, we have to do 100. It's a pain in the butt. We have to do 100% research on everything we buy. And it's annoying. I would love to just like trust a product and use it. And that's the product I like. Why? Because it works. Not because, I bought it and it doesn't have anything in it. It makes you so mad.
And again, everything that you do, we're trying to bring you on a journey with earthworm castings, how to make your own earthworm castings, using leaves that's been piled up for ages and getting all that activity. That's so important. Using molasses. That's what we're going to talk about that very soon.
Sour milk. I just used sour milk in my garden, and I don't know if it's worked yet, but I plan on putting more. So
now this is going to be interesting for me. Is compost char with
mycorrhizal fungi. I got soil what's that stuff called?
ProMix,
and it has that mycorrhizal stuff in it.
Mm-hmm. Now I want to find out what's the truth about that. What's in the actual bag?
Yeah, because now I want to know if I wasted my money, because that stuff is not cheap. That's like $38 something a bag. It's unreal to buy that stuff. So
when we had Kathleen Draper on and I showed her this, she didn't seem okay. Sounds good. Yeah. So I'm like, she wasn't okay. That sounds good. I want to know. I got to get some stats down. Now, humic acid is very important in the garden, so I got to think of humic acid.
Boom.
So now I got to putting everything together. That's another reason why I want to know about Nature's Good guys get nematodes. Like if I put all this stuff together, does it work? If I put everything I want and put it.
I'm so glad that you've learned from this channel, because you guys have no idea how much I've learned about soil. It's totally changing the way I'm doing my garden, and my brain sometimes explodes with information. Like, if you're ever on my Facebook, and sometimes I just like randomly say things about soil, it's because my brain is like on fire. Like, I know Joe that one time I posted like 3 things about soil, and Joe's like liking each one. It's like if it wasn't for Joe, I'd know nothing, it seems. Courtney, I recently planted a bunch of stuff in Pro Mix and my leaves are turning yellow. Oh no! That's not good.
No, that's not good at all.
Uh-uh.
See, that's the reason why I'm having these people on. Because I want you guys to save money. You know? I need to know what am I doing? You know, I'm actually going to write a book because I have something I want to do. And I have a couple of people that want to do some plans with it, like do testings. One plant and then to the next plant. And I have something up my sleeve for the next year, which I'll bring you up next year, but I want to do my test this year, which is pretty cool.
It's funny, Wickershire, that you say that because I did that one year. I had made liquid fertilizer, liquid banana fertilizer, and I did all that. And oh my God, it smelled. But I had like 3 buckets and I had chicken poop and I filled that up too. And I let it sit for like a year. And we've used it, but it is super stinky. Oh yeah, it smelled.
Now, I'm a huge believer in my gardener. And by the way, if you use #GrowBig, you get 10% off. And if you go Mary's Heirloom Seeds and use Grow Big, you get 10% off there too.
Yes, don't forget about Mary and Lucas because they have it going on. They have the seeds that you need. And if you bought seeds, don't worry. The seed addiction is real. You just go back and you buy some more, honey.
Now, with Luke, he said, I'm going off his word that this stuff works really well. And that's Sassy Les.
Okay.
And that's what it has.
Now, I really trust on my gardener, so I want a bag of that. So now that I am your wonderful lunch lady and I'll get a little extra income, that might be something that I get.
Now I also got 2 other things, by the way, and we got to shut this off because it's getting late, and you guys are still here. You guys are amazing.
Thank you.
I'm glad we're in it. Thank you for being here. I guess we did some entertaining or something. Keep you here. So I got 2 things, and I got this from this place that might be a sponsor. I'm thinking if I really want to do it or not. It's but anyway. He highly recommended this. It's Grow Dots and Reach Hard.
Interesting.
And again, professional strength microbial super pack. And supposedly, as I get supposedly, that's what that has in it.
And I almost want you to take a sample of that and send it to Everest. Like, hey, Everest, take a look at this.
Exactly. I need a microscope. That's what I've been learning a lot about this for a long time, actually, listening to Matt Powers. But listening to his class, because I'm not watching what he has. I'm listening, so it's not as easy because I'm actually at work. It's the only time I have a chance to do it. And I'm also listening to other YouTube shows. It's just pretty insane. I'm talking to Quirky and Quirk. Yeah, I'm working. I only got like 200 patients to put in the computer today, but also Matt Powers and also this happened today and this is going on this channel.
You're like an extreme multitasker.
It's like really. And welcome in Mark Robinson. It's good to see you. Hope you're doing okay. I just popped in and I am wandering. Bamboo. Yes, we talked about bamboo today. So go check out the interview. We're just shutting it off right now. It's good to see you. Last time you were on, you made a donation, then you were not feeling well and something was going on. But we hope you're doing
right.
a lot.
You're right, Rick. There is no nutrients in Pro Mix because it's seed starting mix, so they don't put a lot in that. You have to add in your own later on. But a lot of times, if you wait too long, they lack nutrients. Like one year I had all of my tomato plants turn purple because they were lacking phosphorus. So you have a fine line there. And they're not it's a starting mix. So you can't leave them in there forever.
That's what I used.
There you go.
Again, it's seed starting mix, guys. You could just go make leaf bulb. You don't have to pay for this stuff. Just filter it out. Okay, guys. It's been 1 second, superficial look at a superficial look at the reviews. The guys very good about a dozen sources. So that's good, Jay. Yeah, this stuff seems it's from the results. I talked to the owner. He goes, "This stuff is amazing."
Okay.
So, yeah, and if I don't know, okay, I'm not going to talk. You know, when something's not confirmed, I don't want to really get into it. But something, anytime we could make money somewheres, any little bit we could do and have a affiliation, look into it. You know, and that's one of these situations. Okay, enough with me. I'm getting tired. I'm gonna ramble. So, Corky and I say thank you for you guys for being here, and again, a lot of good stuff's coming out. Make sure you share these lives out. It really helps, and become a member.
Yeah, we
Okay,
have
I'm done
memberships as little as $2.99, guys, and super inexpensive. So, and with all 3 memberships, you get a little something. So you just have to be a member for a year.
And if you guys wanted to make a donation another kind of way, PayPal or Venmo, we could do that for membership too. So that's up to you guys. All right. We'll see you guys later. Thank you guys so much. Love you, and we'll see you on Thursday at 8 o'clock.
Bye.
Take care, guys.